I'm Stephen Carlin. I'm the team leader for the project, and I also worked on the 3D environments.
I am Kieran Carr. I work on script writing, 2D animation and storyboarding.
My name is Alexander Montgomery. I'm the concept artist of the team and animator of the bee character itself. The theme behind our animation was the importance of bees.
The story goes, a bee evading obstacles to get to the hive. The aim was to make a roller coaster experience, which we wanted the audience aimed at kids around 12 years old to feel thrilled. We were inspired by the Avatar ride in Disneyland, immersiveness and its roller coaster-like experience with the world passing you by. Further experience was drawn up from How to Train Your Dragon flight sequence, where Toothless is navigating through the rocks.
In developing our concept art, the first designs looked rather cute. However, they didn't really suit the overall feel of the animation. So, we changed it to a more cool look because it goes well with our target audience and our animation style. We went out and collected some primary research, which we used to draw on from our concept art. When doing the garden scene, we considered their owners and how their personalities are reflected in the gardens, apart from the first garden where it's the dog who really shapes the theme of the garden, such as the burrow and its kennel. The second garden represented a clean and tidy person who likes to keep a maintained garden, which is represented by the sprinklers and the neat bushes. The third garden's owner was an old man who says he wants to do something, but he never finds the time away from the television to do so. So, as a result, his lawn is poorly maintained. The last garden was a family garden with wide open spaces, it's well maintained, has a kids' pool, which makes it very welcoming. In the course of doing my work, it's clear that I haven't remembered much about the sport of football because I might have accidentally put a goal inside a goal.
Creating the storyboard was a challenge because it was hard to keep up with the story always moving. The task of keeping the action all in perspective from different angles. We decided to use orthographic camera angle styles, because they show angles which are easier to make and for the audience to understand.
Creating a previous allowed us to better visualize our ideas. It also allows us to discuss camera angles and like issue which we went with a one-shot solution with the camera always far behind the bee to save time on animating the camera. Trello has been a great tool for scheduling because it allows us to know where everyone is at any one time. For file management, we use Google Drive because it's easy to use and we can access files from anywhere. The 3D environments are mainly made using a bot modeling approach apart from a few assets like the map floors and trees. We tried to incorporate 2D assets into the animation as much as we could. With the grass and spider web being a flat 2D plane, this was so it would fit into the 2D animation going on top of it. When creating the forest we used Mash because it's easier to randomize the trees and grass locations. We originally planned to go back over and we played a solid colour look we have for textures, but the solid colour look received a good reception, so we decided to stick with them. For a more dynamic pipeline, we decided to go with motion tracking. This allowed our animators to work on animations before any of the 3D backgrounds and traps are made. The tracking footage for the bee, for example, is a black spear going along a nerve curve which can be edited on the graph editor.
Once I have the tracking footage, this is then imported into After Effects so I can begin the tracking process. The way it works is that the black dot here essentially acts as a sort of placeholder for the bee, which I import into After Effects as an image sequence. And once imported, I have to I then scale each component up, like say the bee and the wings, and link them together, so that if I resize the bee throughout the animation, the wings shrink with it, which eliminates the need to do them separately. Now, when doing forward-facing motions, such as this one here, it's a simple matter of using the transform tools of position, scale, and rotation to actually show the bee flying through the many obstacles it faces in its path, such as we play it through here, the grass, and the flowers. Now the one thing of doing this is that I have to make sure the bee is properly lined up with the black dot, so that it shows that the black dot isn't there as the bee flies through. Now one other thing is that the bee footage doesn't last the whole footage, so another file of the bee and wings are imported together so that I can then continue forward from when the first bee left off. To show actual speed in the wings, I used an effect in the effects option called Force Motion Blur. This essentially allows me to actually create a sort of smear animation effect on the wings, which most of you have seen in Looney Tunes. This gives the influence of speed. Now, here's the finished sequence. What my job in the whole animation process is to animate the bee that flies through the whole 3D environment that Steven creates for us. Originally, what I did with this is animate the bee as a whole, but I later found that it didn't run as smooth as I thought. So, I decided to do it in separate layers. I began with the wings. To animate, I use Animate CC because the advantage of doing the wings and the body in here is that I can use the onion skinning to track the wings and create a smooth paced animation for it to play. Now, this is an example of what I did earlier. As you can see, it plays smoother. The way I accomplished this is that when doing the wings, I keyframe each movement in each wing whilst following the onion skinning, both when they go down and when they go up. Such as here, for example. If I move this wing, it leaves behind a trail to follow. And as you play it through, it therefore flaps smoothly like a bee's wing should. I do the same process on the right wing, and so on and so forth, and duplicate each keyframe till it reaches to about a time of either 20 seconds or 2 seconds to use as a loop throughout the After Effects animation. When animating the bee's body, it's a similar principle, except they have to move up and down in different sequences. To help me identify how bees fly, I watched reference footage of a bee flying in absolute slow motion so I can capture how the wings move and if the body moves within flight. Now, I didn't see much movement, but I decided to exaggerate the body's movement in flight. Now, most animals, as we know, move in an up and down motion as their wings flap. So, with the bee, I decided to create a similar principle. I animate each body part one by one so that I can easily map out when each body part has to move. For example, I start with the head, then the tail, or in the middle body, depending on which angle I use or whether I animate the head and body in separate layers. Then each leg, such as the upper and hind legs of the bee, assuming that's what they're called, and keyframe each of them to follow the bee's movements by the use of, again, onion skinning, which is a helpful tool when doing wing movements or the body movements within the bee.